Welcome, my friends, to Shaking the Salt with Dr. Peppers. My bio reads from troubled teen to teacher of the year, 100-pound weight loss, blah, blah, blah. You know, the sort of thing you're working on in your before and after life story. So at the end of the message, stay tuned if you want to contact me for any reason, including prayers. Thank you. And I'm Dr. Peppers, Shaking the Salt. Here we go. I never in 1,000 years would have dreamed that I would go into ministry. I, who was the troubled teenager that ran and partied and played and smoked and drank and did all of that stuff to my heart's content. I was the wild child of our town, so to speak, and I loved it all. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, they say that sin is fun, and it is for a while. But the old saying is it will take you farther than you want to go. Sin will cost you more than you're willing to pay. And it will keep you a whole lot longer than you're willing to stay. I think it's kind of like a heroin addict that always says, oh, that high, that first high that I got was absolutely wonderful. I felt just something more, something better, something greater than I have ever felt in my entire life. And ever since then, I never felt it again. I was always chasing that high again. Meth addicts will tell you the same. Alcoholics. And when you see the before and after pictures, I guess it just takes longer for the smokers to see all of those deep-seated wrinkles, and maybe for the alcoholic you can hide it better and be a functioning alcoholic even. But the meth addict, for example, you see the before and after pictures that are only 3 years difference, and it looks like they've aged 30 years. And the heroin addicts often don't even make it that long because they self-destruct. Well, I was out to be a player and a partier, and I could never have imagined that I would get married and start going to church and have my entire life changed and be a teacher in a high school when I didn't even want to stay in school and dropped out my senior year. I couldn't even imagine it. But guess what? God already knew, and He knew that I would help start an alternative school for troubled teens. Of course He did. You see, where you've been hurt the most is where God will use you to help others the most. And when we moved here to Florida, a special group of ladies just happened, quote unquote, to find me. And that's because I was seeking a women's group. And they saw me walk in the door, and Linda said, "Come sit at our table, Debbie. We had a cancellation." She didn't know me. She had just seen my name tag that said Debbie. I didn't even put Dr. Peppers. But anyway, long story short, I became a member of Heart Sisters. Some of you are sick and tired of hearing about it because you don't have such a group, but you could start one. They call Bud one of our Heart Brothers because he's helped us out so much in the publishing of the book and putting together the technological aspects of our PowerPoint for our big event we just had. And then, of course, getting it up on YouTube. If you want to see it, you can see that there. But our ministry was born because I was starting to be asked to speak at women's groups back in the 80s and 90s, back in St. Louis. And if they would give me an honorarium, usually $100 or so, I would just say, well, here, you take it back. And I would do that. I would give them their check back, or if they gave me cash, I would hand it back over to the organizer because we didn't really need it. And I didn't want to take their money. I wanted to speak for free. But my wise husband said, don't you realize that when they gift you this, it becomes yours, even if it's just for a second or two, and we still have to pay income tax on it because it was a gift. And when I started to see that, he said, why don't you help me and let's just incorporate into a ministry? And he said, what do you want to call it? And I said, well, we're called to be the Salt and Light. And so because our name was Peppers, and we had a business called Pepper Seed, which was our speaking business he managed, the Salt and Light part of it just became natural. Salt and pepper I know it was kind of stupid and punish at the time, but it helped us to remind ourselves as well as others we are called to be the salt, to help season one another. And the light of this world, Jesus said, I am the light. So we want to share his light and spread his light, taking none of the glory for ourselves because we knew what happened when we did. So when people donate to Salt and Light Ministry, it goes right back out. Maybe not necessarily to the group that gave it to us or the individual, but we share it as needed. We have given to people on the street. We have given to people in our church who were down and out. We have given to a mom who needed gas money to get back and forth to the hospital to see her child who was being diagnosed for who knows what. We have given to anyone, any place, any time that someone needs it. And what a gift it is, my friend, to be able to be a filter where not just the money can flow, but the salt and light, that we can tell others the good news of Jesus Christ. About 30 years ago, I had printed up little tiny brochures, just a half a page folded over, that told my life story. And it's called From Troubled Teen to Teacher of the Year, because that was my gimmick. Now it's called From Hall of Shame to Hall of Fame, when I was inducted into the Teachers Hall of Fame. And every aspect of my life where there has been a promotion or an honor, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if I start to take credit for that, oh yes, I was such a good teacher. Oh yes, my students all loved me. Oh yes, because I did this, blah, 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 blah. It's not just boring and a blah, blah, blah. It's taking the credit for what is not mine. When he picked me out of the gutter of my life, when he said, you hate high school, I'm going to put you in high school for 40 years with other kids that hate high school, but you have to tell them of the salt and the light. And that's what has happened with all of the ministry, including our Heart Sisters. I know that I had trouble getting it up on the site that my husband was doing. So if you want to get a copy of our book to read 35 of our stories, yes, mine is in there too, you can do that at saltandlightministry.com, www.saltandlightministry.com. I'm not saying this because we get to get the money from it. The $10 that you pay for the book will go right back into the hands of somebody else. We have a lot of homeless around here. My husband works with a food pantry that gives out to people that are in need, maybe because of the world situation, maybe because of what COVID has done in their life, maybe because they're just down and out, and maybe they are drugs or alcohol ridden. Maybe they are, but they need to eat, and they need to hear the solution of the one who will help them out. So, my friend, if you want to make a contribution to Salt and Light, I promise you not one penny goes back into my account. As a matter of fact, my entire Social Security goes into our Salt and Light ministry. How about that? Okay, I have to tell you the truth. The teacher's pension is what helps us get by. But every penny I ever earned from radio, television, speaking, any other work that I did when I was part of an educational company, or what I earned from Webster University where I taught for 10 years, any of that went back into Salt and Light Ministry still does because of my Social Security check. It's not much, but I get to give it away. What a blessing to know that every month I have money that comes in that I get to help others with. It's not a lot, but sometimes, my friend, it doesn't take a lot. When you leave an extra $20 to a pregnant waitress who maybe doesn't know God, who maybe is a mom that doesn't have a husband, maybe she's afraid, maybe she was even considering abortion. But you see, now it's too late. Who's going to help her? God will, and we can be his hands and feet. here while we're on earth. So that's what it's all about. That's what our ministry is about, being the salt and sharing the light. I'm Dr. Peppers, and thank you, my friends, that you also get to be the salt and light while we're here on earth. God bless you. And if you want to see the history of my ministry, so to speak, you can go to www.saltandlightministry.com. If you want to order a book, you can do that as well. If you just want to see me, quote, preaching, unquote, back at my old church in St. Louis, that's up there as well. www.saltandlightministry.com. I'm Dr. Peppers, shaking the salt. Thanks for staying on, my friend. If you would like to contact me, visit saltandlightministry.com. If you want to share your story with me, ask a question, have me come speak to your group, or maybe just request prayer. Once again, saltandlightministry.com. Thanks and God bless.